Hello, hello. What's up, guys? Welcome to this tip video here. What I'm going to be focusing on, starting over. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Brobean, and in this video, I'm going to be focusing on the importance of user catching and also talking about how to trigger the diving animation on the post. So that's what this entire video is going to be about. If you're already doing user catching and you're familiar with all of this, maybe this is not for you. But if you're a beginning player, even if you're an intermediate player, if you've been playing the game for a while, maybe you're not user catching. And in my opinion, this is something that you definitely should be doing if you want to take your game to the next level. So I'm going to be breaking down why we're doing this and how to do it. And again, talking about triggering that diving animation on posts. So let's talk about why you want to be user catching. The main reason is we want to eliminate dice rolls when it comes to the game of Madden. There are so many variables, and we don't want the computer to control everything for us. I want to be able to user and control the outcome of as many things as possible when it comes to playing this game. If I leave certain things in the computer's hands, that's just going to result in more things not going my way. Probably more interceptions, fumbles. There's just so many dice rolls in the game, which is something that they kind of started to introduce a couple of years ago. So again, I want to be able to eliminate that stuff. I want to be the one in control, and that's really the main reason. And the other thing, and we'll talk about and we'll look at it while we go through this video, is, user catching is going to allow you to complete passes that you normally wouldn't complete. I mean, that really is the main reason. You can think of it like the game of basketball, where you want to be able to box out the defender. There are going to be throws that you make that if you leave it up to the computer and you don't take control of the receiver, it's going to result in an incompletion, a pick, or you may catch it and fumble. So this does kind of talk also about, the possession catching and those types of animations that we can trigger. But again, that's really what I want to focus on in this video. So let's jump on the field here. So I'm still here in the Seattle book. Just think that we should start off here. And I'm just going to come out and random play. So this is what we're looking at. And the first thing that I want to talk about, let's just dive right into the post. Let's get right into it. And I'm going to explain to you how you're going to do it and Also, this does, again, coincide with the user catching aspect. So, first thing I'm going to do is run this play without controlling the receiver to see if we can complete it. Now, we may complete it, but there is, again, a better chance that you might not complete it. So, let's just run the play. And of course, there we were able to complete it, and that's good. And that is going to happen from time to time. But you're going to feel more comfortable and you're going to have much more success if you take control. So let's run that again. This time we're going to try to trigger the diving animation. Bad pass there. Now let's run this and try to trigger the diving animation. So there we have the diving animation that we're looking for. So if you're not sure of how to do this, I'm going to explain it to you right now. I'm going to try to walk you through it. And first I want to show you the replay. So what we're going to do is, once we hike the ball, we are going to take control of the receiver and trigger that animation. So here's how you want to trigger the diving post animation. Does it work every single time? No. It's really about practice. You're going to need to get into practice mode, do this 100 times, and it's really just going to become muscle memory where you're going to be able to do it without thinking. So what you want to do, and this, again, coincides with user catching, is you're going to hike the ball, and then here, we're on PS4. Once the ball is in the air, you're going to press circle, and that will move the cursor to the closest receiver that the ball is going to. Then you're going to use the left analog stick to position the receiver where you want him to. This is, again, coinciding with user catching. And then we're going to hit X to trigger the possession catch. I know that sounds really confusing, so let's run it. Hike the ball, hit R1, circle. Try that again. So here's how you want to trigger the possession catch. Once the ball is in the air, you're going to hit circle on the PS4 to bring the cursor to the receiver that you're throwing the ball to. Then you can take control of the receiver with the left analog stick. And you may need to do this to position him in a better spot so that, the ball doesn't end up in the defender's hands. And then once the ball is almost reaching the receiver, you're going to hit the X button. You can usually hold it down. Sometimes I hold it down and I let it go right before he catches the ball. That does sometimes also trigger it. So that is, again, you're going to need to get into practice mode and go over that. So I'm going to walk you through it first live, and then we'll look at the replay. So hike the ball, press R1, circle, and then I hit X while holding left on the analog stick. So let's look at the replay, and I'll kind of walk you through it step by step. So again, we hike the ball here, and you can see right as I start throwing the ball there, I've already clicked on with circle. Again, circle is going to allow me to control Michael Thomas, this receiver. Now that I've controlled the receiver with the left analog stick, I'm also throwing this just so, in case you're asking yourself, well, that's a big part of it. How are you throwing this? I'm throwing this with a pocket lead to the left. So I'm holding left 9 o'clock on the left analog stick. Okay? So again, I'm hiking the ball. Here, once I start throwing it, I'm clicking circle to get onto the receiver. Then I'm clicking on the analog stick. This way I can control Michael Thomas. So I'm actually also, once I throw the ball with the 9 o'clock pass lead, I'm also holding left to take control of Michael Thomas and, again, kind of box out this corner here. Then what I'm doing is right here, once the animation starts, right there is where I'm pressing X, and I'm holding it down. And for me, for whatever reason, I usually let it go right before he catches it. And sometimes I'll hold it down, but that also seems to trigger it. You can see here, it's all about body positioning. Okay? If I didn't do this, it's very unlikely that Michael Thomas would have caught this ball. There's a good chance that it would have been a pick, an incompletion, or I would have caught it and it would have been a fumble. Okay? So let's see if we can run it again. Again, you're going to hike the ball. Once you throw it to your receiver, you're going to click on with circle, You're still holding left on the analog stick, and then you're pressing X right when you want to trigger the animation. So, hike, R1, circle, press X. Terrible. Terrible throw. So again, what we're going to do is hike the ball, throw it to the receiver with a pass lead at 9 o'clock on the analog stick. Obviously, if this is reversed, you're going to throw it at about 3 o'clock, but you have to be careful. You need someone with good accuracy. You don't want them overthrowing it. And once we click on, we're going to press circle to click onto the receiver. And then from there, we're going to still hold left on the analog stick and body position basically boxing out the corner, and then pressing X right before the ball gets there to trigger the diving post. Let's try it here. R1, circle. So again, what we want to do is hike the ball. Then we're going to hold left on the analog stick to get a 9 o'clock pass lead. Once we throw the ball, we're going to click onto the receiver with circle. And then we're still going to box out the corner by holding left on the analog stick. And sometimes you may need to do a couple other things with the analog stick. And then we're going to trigger the possession catch, the diving post. We're going to press X, tap X right before the ball gets there. So let's try it. Hike the ball. So let's do this again. Hike, left on the analog stick, R1, circle. That time we didn't need to get the diving animation. So let's try it again. Hike, left on the analog stick, R1, circle. Let's try it again. Remember, you're going to be holding left on the analog stick. Make sure you wait. You don't want to throw it too early or you might get an incompletion. So hike the ball, left on the analog stick, R1, circle. Come on, man. So let's try that again. And remember, you're holding left, 9 o'clock on the left stick. Hike the ball, left, R1, circle, and then we're pressing X at the last second. So again, this really is going to take some practice, getting the timing down. And there are times where you may not get it and you may not need it. So again, we're pressing. Once we hike the ball, I'm already hitting left on the analog stick. Now you want to be careful because you don't want to push Drew Brees all the way to the left if there's pressure coming that way. But here, I throw the ball to R1. I'm still holding left on the stick. Then I'm pressing. I've already pressed circle at this point. So now I'm in control of Michael Thomas. And right there, once the animation starts, you can see you don't want to. If you do it too early, you're not gonna get a completion. He won't get the animation. So you want to throw it, when he's about, I would say, 5 yards. Maybe is this about 10 yards? Somewhere around there. It's really a timing thing. It's so hard. This is not easy to explain. So again, I would really kind of get into the lab and practice mode and go over this as many times as possible. At this point, for those of us that have been doing it, it's almost automatic. But there are times where you may get pressure inaccurates. I mean, that all depends on, if there's pressure in your face. So it's just so powerful because you're boxing out the defender with something that would normally, be an interception. So let's run it. I'm not going to do anything again here. Okay, I'm just going to hit R1. So I would just want to show it to you one more time without doing anything. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to hike the ball and hit R1 and see what happens. So I just want to show you what would look, So I just want to show you what it would look like if I don't try to take control of the receiver. So let's run this again. We're going to hike the ball. So let's run this again. I'm going to walk you through the steps as I do it live. Hike the ball. Left on the analog stick. God. Let's do this again. So I'm not hitting the possession catch until, again, it's about 5 to 10 yards out. Let me show you what it looks like if you hit it too early. So hiking the ball, R1. Hike the ball, R1, click on. Hike, R1, click on. Hike, left on the analog stick, R1. Okay. Hike the ball, left on the analog stick, R1. And then we get the diving animation. So again, for me, a lot of the times I don't hold down X. I don't also tap it. It's just a feel thing. You really do kind of have to get the rhythm for it. So you're not holding it down the entire time. Basically, you hitting the button, I want to say for maybe a second, is going to trigger that animation. And again, most likely in this scenario, I probably wouldn't have completed this. Watch. We threw it here. Look at where the ball is right here. Michael Thomas hasn't even made his break yet. Right? I mean, the ball's in the air. He hasn't even made his break. He's still, I mean, he's still pretty far away. We can get the cursor to go where we need it to be. Right? I mean, at this point right here, he is still not near the ball. That is if you don't make this animation and you don't click on, you're not completing this. So luckily, you know, this is a feature that's in the game. It's really useful. It's very hard to stop. So I hope that was clear. And the reason why I am going over this is because I actually got, you know, a lot of questions and people were DMing me about, you know, how do you do the possession catch? How do you trigger the post? And also just asking me about user catching. So that's why I wanted to kind of focus on the diving post. Now, let's talk a little bit about... So the main reason that I wanted to go over this is because I got some DMs and people asking, you know, how do you trigger the diving post? And also just about user catching. So I just think that this is pretty useful. So now that we've talked about the diving post animation, let's just talk about taking control of the receiver just to box out, again, the defender. So this isn't, I'm not trying to trigger a post here, but I just want to show you, again, the benefits of taking control of a receiver and user catching. So I'm going to motion over Ted Ginn, who's on this inverted, well, at this point it's a fade, but once I motion him over, it's going to become an inverted fade, which is very good against man. And if they're playing underneath coverage, it should be open over the top of the linebacker. But if I don't take control, it's going to make this a lot harder. So they're in man coverage. We motion over Ginn, hike it, take control of the receiver. And you can see there we actually did get the diving post, but he wasn't able to complete it. But I'm saying if I didn't do that, there's no way I would have gotten that animation, right? I mean, you can see here, it's an inside, you know, the route now breaks to the inside. And what I'm doing here is it's an inside pass lead, 3 o'clock, and same concept as the diving post. You know, we trigger the animation, and the defender just happened to make a really good play. And I don't want you guys to think that this video is too basic. You know, there's all sorts of people at different skill levels in the game, and that's really why I'm making this. If you're advanced, you don't need to be watching it. Maybe you do, just to kind of brush up on your skills. But, you know, if you're not doing this, you're really not, you're doing yourself a disservice. if you're not doing this in Madden, you're doing yourself a disservice. This should definitely be something you're doing to take your game to the next level. If you're an advanced player, you're probably already doing it, as I mentioned, but if you're a novice, maybe you're not. So watch again. They're still in man. We hike it there. And again, you can see there what I'm kind of referring to as far as, boxing out the receiver, just like in basketball. So once we hike it here, and I feel like this is things that most people know about, but I just want to go over it. At this point, I'm throwing it with a 3 o'clock pass lead. I mean, when you look at this looked like it was going to be picked off or incomplete. I mean, look at where the ball is, the trajectory of where the ball is going and where my receiver is, and there's 2 defenders there. I mean, when I threw this ball, you were probably thinking this is going to be a pick. But because I clicked on, and you can see there, once the ball was at that point, we clicked on, and we were able to box out that receiver, trigger a possession catch for a completion. So let's look at a couple of other things here. So let's talk about out routes. Out routes, I think, are very underutilized in this game because people get nervous about throwing out routes, and that's understandable because Let's talk about user catching with out routes. I think out routes are a little underutilized. People are afraid because it's a far throw from the quarterback. Usually out routes are best when you're throwing it to the wide side of the field, but it's not an easy throw. But I do want to talk about them, and it's especially very good against cover 3. So let's just come out in flanker slant and cover 3 sky. Now, I'll show you this a couple of times. Let's see what it looks like if I don't user catch. So I'm just going to put circle on an out, and let's see what it looks like if I don't user catch. You can see there that, was that a completion? It doesn't look like it was to me. Didn't look like I had both feet in bounds, and if this is at a critical point in the game, I need that first down. I'm not trying to get any incompletions here. So we can see there, it was not a completion. We only had 1 foot down in bounds. So what you really want to do is take control. So we'll do the same thing again, circle, and that time we were able to trigger the possession catch. So it was the same concept that I've been talking about throughout this video thus far, clicking on the receiver and, possession or rack catching. So right there is when I clicked on. I usually do like to click on, not right away. Sometimes you can. You have to be very careful. If you click on too early, you can swerve your receiver completely out of the play. I've done it before on crucial plays, so you have to be very careful. But you can see there that because I clicked on and I possession caught it, this was able to be a completion. This was the exact same route and the exact same play and the exact same defense that we had before. So it's definitely something that you should be using. Now let's talk about user catching to an outside receiver on a post. This can be extremely difficult to complete if you're not taking control. Even if you are, it can be challenging. So let's run this. This is PA read. We're looking at to Michael Thomas, which is square. I'm going to run this with, I'm not going to take control of anything, and let's see what happens. Of course. So let's talk about outside post routes. We're looking at Michael Thomas on the left, square. These can be some of the hardest throws to complete, but they can also be some of the best routes in the game. This concept, by the way, is very good against cover 3. If you're struggling against cover 3 sky, double posts are very good. So if you're looking at Michael Thomas and the triangle receiver, I don't remember who Smith is, but this double post concept, even though Smith's on a deep cross, is very good against cover 3, and we'd be looking at square. But regardless, completing this to square is probably going to give us our biggest play. So I'm going to run this, and I'm not going to click on. We'll just let the computer take control, and let's see what happens. I mean, we were able to get our hands on the ball. If that were a higher rated safety, that probably would have been a pick. But now I want to show you what this looks like when I click on. And I'm not looking for the diving post here. I'm going to be looking to lowball this. And I'll explain how we do that. So I want to show you now what this looks like when I click on and user catch it. I'm really not looking for the diving post. I'm going to be lowballing this, but that can trigger, there is a lowball diving post animation. So we'll see if we can do that. And there it was. So it's the exact same concept as I talked about earlier, taking control. You can see what happens if you don't take control. But the only difference with that throw was that we lowballed it. And we're fitting it into a spot that only our guy can get it in. I know these probably sound like very basic concepts that I'm going over, but this might be stuff that people, some people aren't using. And, if you look at this right here, I mean, this safety is not really in the play, but if we didn't lowball it and if we didn't click on, there's a very good chance that this corner right here was going to be able to make a play on it. So again, you can see there, at this point, I've already clicked on, and you can see that I kind of control him and move him to the inside. I mean, that's not really the way the route goes. Because at this point, if you watch right there, the receiver has already made his break, and he should be shooting straight up field. But once I click on, I position him a little more to the inside, and we throw a low ball, possession catch, and that's how we're able to get that animation. Which, resulted in a huge chunk play, which otherwise, again, probably would not have been completed. So I'm going to run that again. And I mean, that was way further down the field. And when I'm throwing that, I'm assuming most of you are watching it and thinking, there's no way this is going to be completed. So watch here. I mean, at this point, this is a pretty far throw down the field. And right there, look at the position of the receiver. He almost has inside. Now, he doesn't have inside leverage, but he has a very good chance of breaking on that ball. But again, we take control. And what happens is, see right here again, he starts to break to the outside. We click on and we just literally box him out. And again, we complete a huge pass there. That's very hard to defend. They would have had to click on and try to user swat or throw an intercept, or try to intercept it. So that's how I like to utilize. Throwing to outside post routes like that. Not all the posts are the same like this. There's also, if we're looking at Michael Thomas, so this is how it originally looks. Let's try that again. So that's how I like to throw post routes to the outside. I do like to lowball it. There are different posts. This one is stock. This happens to be very good. I've been kind of labbing this play and this formation, this doubles Y off out of the spread book quite a bit, and this post is very good by Michael Thomas. There's other posts. This is like the Hot Route Master post, which is hard to get the same animation. Let's see if we can trigger that. I mean, the safety played it really good there, but it's just not as sharp as a cut when you have, this type of post. Now, of course, there's also some plays that have the really sharp post, but for whatever reason, this PA read in this Michael Thomas route just has a really good cut on it and allows us to get that kind of animation, even when it looks like we're not going to complete it. So, and again, obviously you're hoping that you're going to get some time in the pocket, but this is something that you should be doing if you're not already, to be able to complete bigger plays down the field. So we looked a little bit about how to run out routes. Let's talk about wheels by the running back. So this is very important. So let's talk more now. So now let's talk about taking control of wheels to the running back. Probably not something that you would really think of. You're thinking, oh, I'm just going to let the computer take control of it. But there are times where you may need to take control of the running back on a wheel, especially if you're running some sort of corner wheel combo, like out of trips tight end. It's a very popular concept. Now, this route that Jared Cook is on is not the really good corner, but it's not really what I want to focus on here. It's really about Kamara and this wheel route. So the wheel corner is a popular route combination. It's a high-low look. You know, if they're in a cloud, you're looking for the wheel. If they're in a flat, you're looking for Cook. But sometimes they may be in a curl flat, or sometimes you may read it incorrectly, and you may need to take control of Kamara. I've done this several times, a lot of times, where I've made the wrong read. And if I don't take control, it's going to be a pick. So let's see if we can trigger the Kamara wheel route animation that we're looking for, so that this never becomes an interception. And that's kind of what I'm looking for there. So it's everything that we've talked about so far, taking control of the receiver. And you can see what happens when I did click on. He got this little animation here, right there. It's like a little, right here, this is still the computer. You can see once I click on, we get this fall down animation. Now listen, it's only, I don't think it was any gain. I don't think we gained any yards there, but maybe we got 2 or 3. But this is really like an emergency type of user catch, so you don't throw a pick. Because right there, if I were to throw that wheel, and I didn't click on, there's a chance that this player could have gone in there and picked it off. Now, if it's a higher rated player, if you're in MUT at this point of the year, there's a lot of these linebackers that are flying to the ball. Or maybe this is a safety that is down in a cloud. Or they put a safety in a hard flat, and he's going to come down here and pick that ball off. So that's why we are taking control of Kamara, and we're getting that animation. So to trigger that animation, it's everything that we've talked about so far. We're going to hike the ball. Click R1. So to trigger that animation, it's going to be everything that we've talked about so far. So to trigger that type of animation on a wheel to the running back, it's everything we've talked about. You're hiking the ball. You're going to click R1. You're going to click circle to bring the cursor onto the receiver. When I throw the wheel route, though, I'm clicking up on the left stick. So I'm throwing it with a 12 o'clock pass lead. And I'm body positioning the receiver almost to the 11 o'clock on the stick. Again, I'm hoping that this is not too confusing. Feel free to drop me a comment or a DM if it is. But let's see if I can kind of do this live. So hike. We are hitting R1. So to trigger this type of animation, and it could be against man, it could be against a hard flat or a curl, everything that we've talked about. We are hiking the ball, we are clicking R1 to throw it to Kamara, and then circle is going to bring us and put us on the receiver. I'm throwing this with a 12 o'clock pass lead when I throw a wheel route like this. And when I'm catching the ball, I am still doing the possession catch, but this time, we're not throwing it with a 9 o'clock pass lead. I'm kind of body positioning the running back with an 11 or like an 11:30 on the left stick type of angle. So I get here. So that was a perfect example there of me taking control. If I didn't take control there, that would have been a pick or broken up. I mean, this was man coverage. You can see it right there. This linebacker. So let's look at the replay of that. This was a perfect example. It was man coverage. If I didn't click on, this would have been a pick or a broken up play. I mean, the defender is right there. He's going for the animation to break it up. I believe that is... So let's look at the replay. That was a perfect example of why we need to click on all the time. Because we throw the ball, it's man, the defender is right there. We clicked on, you can see right there is when we clicked on. And again, I'm throwing it with about a 12 or 11:30 pass lead, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm almost positioning the receiver to come back to the ball at a diagonal. I almost want him to be right about here to box out that receiver. And that's going to happen almost every time. So if you're afraid to throw this wheel route, especially on the short side, a lot of the times when we do the wheel flat combo, it's to the wide side, but when you're doing this type of route concept, a lot of the time it's to the short side. You're going to want to take control and, again, position it almost so he's diagonal to the quarterback. There we actually got a diving animation. So, that's not something, you don't want to do that every time. If they're playing flats like that, you're going to be looking for the tight end on the corner. But this is just an emergency in case you do make the wrong read. And in case you're reading and you're thinking it's cloud, but all of a sudden you realize, oh boy, it's hard flats, or it's man, or it's curl flats, because a curl flat kind of plays the in-between, and they do a really good job against routes like this. This time it's curls. And sometimes you're going to get that falling down animation. I mean, you can run this over and over. This time I am running it with a 9 o'clock pass lead, so it's very similar to the post that I was running. I'm running it with a 9 o'clock pass lead, so hitting X, R1. Oh, that time we had him on a table route. Let's run that again. So sometimes I'm also running this with a 9 o'clock pass lead, and I'm also positioning the receiver with at 9 o'clock on the left stick. Again, I'm just reading the defender and positioning and hitting on the stick depending on what I see. So R1. And it also gives us a quicker animation. If you wait a little longer, that wheel is going to go out further. It's going to be a little bit slower. So it just allows us to make a play that we normally would not make. That time we get the diving post. That probably would have been an incompletion if we didn't do that. That time there, I didn't click on, and you can kind of see what happens. We still caught it, but, we were tackled for almost no gain. It was a little riskier. Let's do it again. We won't catch it that time. So again, let's look at... So this is what it looks like when I don't take control. Hike the ball, hit R1. So this is what it looks like when I don't take control. So this is what it looks like when I don't take control. You still do get that kind of sharp cut like that. You just have to wait a little bit longer. So not taking control. They're in man here. And we were lucky enough to complete it there. So let's see what happens when I don't take control. So this is what happens when I don't take control of the running back. And there are really a variety of animations when you're doing this wheel concept over here and clicking on. Sometimes you'll get the diving post. There are times where the defender will go for an interception and just totally whiff, and he'll be out of the play completely. Now, it wasn't necessary there to possession catch. There was, I had space there. But again, I just want to show you what it looks like. Like, that was a perfect example of why I should be clicking on. Let's see what this looks like against hard flats. So let's look at this with hard flats because, again, if you read this wrong, you're going to need to click on. Here it's hard flats. And, I mean, that should have been a pick. Again, I'm not going to do that on purpose, but if I make the wrong read, I'm going to need to click on. Even though it's no gain or if it's a gain of 1 or 2, it's really just an emergency type of animation that we're triggering here. I'll call it that. I mean, we're completing it every single time. We shouldn't be. I mean, you'll almost never throw a pick with this. Has it happened to me before? Yes. Now, that time we were able to get a really good animation and take it in for 6. The last concept that we can look at here is the last concept. Let's also look at 4 verticals. It's always going to be a popular concept, and we'll just run it against random plays. If it's a cover 3, you're going to need to. I mean, let's look at 4 verticals now, especially with this type of 4 verticals where it's 2 receivers in the slot and 2 on the outside. You're really a lot of the times you're looking for the slot guy. But you do need to read the linebackers, and if it's cover 3, you need to read the safety and see which side he's really cheating to. So let's check out 4 verticals now. This type of 4 verticals from a spread set like this. We're going to be looking for the slots first to see how the defense plays it. If it's cover 3, we're going to see which side the safety cheats to. So again there, clicking on, we didn't get a diving animation, but we still clicked on and boxed out that safety. He wasn't close, but, if you get a pressure inaccurate, which are rampant right now, especially with this new run commit feature that is causing pressure inaccurates on run plays. So if you're under center and you're running something like this, you're really going to need to be even more careful, and clicking on will be even more beneficial. So right there, perfect example. I didn't trigger a diving post, but because I clicked on, I was able to, we pass led it at 9 o'clock, and I put the tight end in the position to make that catch. That was not the computer. Same thing there. Had to wait a little bit longer. And at that, what I really did there was I just tapped X so he gets that little burst at the end to catch the ball. And I didn't click on for a while. You can see here. I clicked on right about here. And that's where we get that little jump. So if you watch it again, boom, how he gets that little hop step, that little burst to be able to catch it, because right about here, He was not in position to catch it, but, we gave him that little possession catch right there. Boom. So one more that I do want to talk about, if you look at the play drag under there, it's a corner post. You don't see these a lot. They're really hard to complete, but again, if we take control, we can complete this. So this is drag under. Again, it's a corner post. It's good against man. It's good against zone. And that's Michael Thomas and Stephon Gilmore. So I want to show you what it looks like when I take control. We're in a random D here. So this is drag under. Look at Michael Thomas. It's a corner post. He's matched up with Gilmore, who's the best corner in regs. I believe he has 99 man or 98 zone. Very high ratings. So let's just max protect it. Again, I'm going to show you what it looks like if I click on. So this is the corner post that Michael Thomas is on. It's a hard route to complete if you don't take control. It also is a little bit slow developing. And he's matched up with Stephon Gilmore, who's the best corner in regs. He has like 99 man and very high zone ratings too. So if you don't take control, it's going to be very hard to complete. Oh my God. So let's look at corner post. It's Michael Thomas on the left matched up with Gilmore. This looks like man press. Could be Tampa 2. If we don't take control, we're never going to complete this. So we're looking at the corner post on the left. We have Thomas matched up with Gilmore, the corner post. It can be slow developing. There's a couple of different spots that we can hit it in. But if you don't user catch and take control of Michael Thomas, this is going to be almost impossible to complete. I mean, unless they have a huge gap in the middle, or unless you have a 99 receiver against like a 60 corner. So this looks like man right away. So let's see what the corner post by Michael Thomas against Gilmore looks like if we use or catch it. You can see there we threw a low pass. The nice thing about this corner post is that you can throw it right when he breaks back from the corner. So you can see here, he started throwing it. He's making the break for the corner. So he just started the break for the corner route, but this isn't a corner route. And by the time the ball gets there, we took control. Gilmore was turned the wrong way. And you can also see, I mean, you can't see it here, but if you were looking, if you just rewind it really quick, Gilmore was in the zone. His X factor was lit up, and we were still able to complete it. This is not an easy throw. Again, if you have pressure in your face, I mean, this is not going to be something that you're going to try to throw because it's a little bit slow developing. But I'm just trying to give you different concepts and different ideas. Passing can still be viable in Madden 20. It's not as easy as it's been in years past, but if you implement the user catching, you can definitely make it a little easier for yourself. And there again, able to trigger it. You saw the X factor. I'm throwing it once he makes that corner break. One more time there. Gilmore looking upset, beating himself up because he wasn't able to make an interception. So hope this was useful for you guys. It's just a tutorial. So maybe, again, if you're a beginner, something that you never thought of, or maybe you don't know how to do it. I hope I explained it clearly enough. If I didn't, feel free to hit me up in the DM or just drop a comment below. If you're an advanced player, then this is something that hopefully you're already doing. So hopefully I helped here today. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. For those that are not familiar with what we did here today, if it wasn't clear or if you have questions, feel free to drop a comment below, and I'll do my best to get back to you guys. So good luck out there, get into practice mode, and just lab all this stuff up.